Hi, folks. Mark Scroggins with Scroggins Law Group. We have another episode of Family Law Talk, and today we have Julie Kirkpatrick and Nicole Bisco.
Hello.
Hello.
So, wanted to talk a little bit about women in law, and I have seen, there's more and more stuff about women helping women, and helping each other to achieve greater heights in career. Is that something that y'all have experienced? Is that accurate? Is it just the opposite? I mean, what do y'all see in that kind of situation?
I have seen kind of both worlds. There have been women that have been more than willing to lend a hand and mentor and help you, get where you need to be. And then I have also seen, women that have a chip on their shoulder that aren't going to do anything at all to lift a finger to help you, and they're going to make it as difficult as possible. And then, you see it on opposing counsel side with women sometimes, So I think that you have kind of, I don't know if you've had the same experience, but.
I would say mainly as far as work goes,
Right.
that, most women are willing to help each other that I know, family law is a
Right.
pretty tight-knit community. So my experience has been that, most of the time they're willing to help each other. Now, on the other hand, if you're in court up against them, sometimes I think they go overboard, feeling like they need to overcompensate because they're a woman. It's trying to come off as being really strong, and it comes off in the wrong way sometimes. But
Yeah, I can definitely see that, but I don't think I'm allowed to have an opinion about this
You're
topic. Not. Okay. So I've also wondered if, I've always thought that it would be that y'all are placed in a really difficult situation between, what all the bullshit fashion magazines will sit there and tell you that this is what a woman's perfect body looks like, and you're supposed to stay at home and raise your kids, but if you stay at home and raise your kids, you're not actually maximizing the talents that you have. I mean, it seems like you're in a constant catch-22. So I know you, put yourself through college and law school while you were working and raising kids. So that is, I think, phenomenal. But I mean, did you feel torn like that?
not in the least.
Really?
Not my first child was not an easy child. Let's just put it that way. And he had his own special desk by the kindergarten teacher. Okay, and it started before that. So I felt like I was a better mother because I wasn't with him 24/7. Because there were a few times I had to lock myself in the bathroom so I didn't kill him, because it was just it was nonstop. So
Wow.
I went to work so I could get a break and paid somebody else to worry about it.
I get it. Well, I get it. I mean, that's pretty damn funny, frankly. Frankly. So, yeah, I would think that would be hard, because I mean, it's funny. I've over the years I've had female friends that have taken different positions. One being that, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. That's all I've really ever wanted to do, and I've known that's my calling. And then they are at home for about 2 months, and they're like, "Holy shit, I cannot do this. I'm going back to work." And then I've seen just the opposite, where someone was just, everything was about career, and then once they had a child, everything totally changed.
When they're a little baby, it's a lot harder to
Right.
leave them, but about the time they hit 2.5 or 3 and they start getting that attitude, it's not so hard. Gotta tell you.
Well, what about, so outside of just the practice of law, what have you seen, or what is your experience with the different things that seem almost, well, not almost, they clash with, the different things that society tends to say, this is the way something's supposed to look, this is how you're supposed to act, all of these kind of things.
Are you talking like as just in general?
Yes.
I mean, I think that society has created kind of a bubble that expectations of what we're supposed to, act or how we're supposed to look and things like that. And it puts a lot of pressure on women, I think.
Do you think that, because I think there's been, you can see a lot of stuff in the news, and there are obviously lots and lots of articles that are written about it, about, women being each other's harshest critics. And so is that something that either one of y'all have seen or experienced, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think we're our own harshest critic.
That's exactly
First
what I
and
was gonna
foremost,
say.
Yeah.
not necessarily from
so
other
hard on
women. I think
ourself.
it's just your own self being hard on yourself because you have your own expectations that you've set for yourself. And if you're not meeting your own expectations, then, you might come down on yourself a little harder than what most people would.
You grew up looking at Barbie, you know.
So that's
and
societal then. That's
Yeah.
a societal
magazines
influence,
with,
right?
Yeah.
that have all been airbrushed and all this. And
Right.
it's, it makes women feel bad about themselves or attempts to.
Right.
And, so then you start beating yourself. So I think we're our worst critics, absolutely. And then you get into there's a lot of women that feel like they need to compete over men, I guess would be the way to put it. So that's where the cattiness and the horribleness to each other can come into play.
I agree.
So what do you do to diffuse that?
I'm moving on to a different guy, dude. It's all yours, babe.
Gotcha. All right.
Not worth fighting over.
Yeah.
Too old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wanted that bad. See ya.
Well, so someone had asked about a couple other topics here. One being, the attorney's license says attorney and counselor at law, and so it's kind of I think a running joke, especially in the realm of family law, that you will learn or will earn your that counselor part of the license. So, have you had a little bit of experience with that?
Yeah, a lot of experience with that, actually. I've had clients that I'm like, you should really call a therapist. Can I give you some names? Can I suggest some people who don't want to do that? They'll pay me for 3 hours to sit there and listen to them because they need somebody to talk to and they don't want to actually go to a therapist.
Right.
And then you've got some who actually start seeing a therapist. I always like to see how much they grow from the time they come in the office, and a lot of them are a complete mess. They're
Right.
going through divorce, they're going through the worst time in their lives, and by the time they're finally done, things are better. They're, kind of looking forward to the future, and the world's looking brighter for them.
Yeah, come out on the other side.
Yeah.
So that can be a huge change, and men and women going through, divorce is always listed as one of the 5 most difficult things that you are going through. So we're generally never dealing with someone when they're at their optimum. So
I love doing adoptions. That's why.
Yeah.
It's the only time they're all happy.
Something though along those lines, and I mean I don't mean to make fun of it because it's hard. I mean you and I have both been divorced.
Yep. Twice.
So
I've been smart and just never got married.
there you go. So there's a lot to be said for that. But it's hard, even when the divorce process itself is easy. Like the divorce I went through with my ex-wife was incredibly easy. Now she's also a divorce lawyer, and so we had just worked everything out between the two of us. But still, the emotional toll, even though it's the right thing and what needs to happen, is still hard. And that's going through, when you do it every day for a living and that it's the right decision as compared to someone who has been blindsided, and is like, what the hell is this? Where did it come from? I can't even imagine the emotional toll that's got to take on somebody. So
Both my divorces were prior to me. I didn't get my law license till I was 40.
Right.
So I was a little older by the time I became an attorney.
Right.
And actually, I got divorced just as I got accepted into SMU law. And one of the things that helped me get through law school and work full time and be a single mother was my husband, before the divorce, finding out I'd been accepted and calling me and goes, "You're going to need me back. You can't do this by yourself, can you?" Wave that red flag. So
Wow.
needless to say, I was graduating law school. God help me, no matter what.
Yeah.
But it's difficult. No matter. We sat down at the table, kitchen table, and worked it out between the two of us. shared a lawyer to draft the documents, but you know, you still got to live under that for a long time. And most of the time I just, you know, it's just easier to go, yeah, okay, I'll agree to that. you
Right.
know?
Well, so that's something that in my experience, you know, I would generally tell people is that, look, if you can agree to something that you can live with, it doesn't mean that you have to like it. Generally, you're going to be better off, you know, resolving it in that fashion, especially if there are kids involved. Because once you get into, you know, the knockdown, dirty drag out, which, you know, we do day in and day out, and sometimes you have to do that. You know, you have to fight about some stuff. But if it can be avoided, generally it's better to be avoided, because whether you like it or not, you, especially, you know, in child custody matters, you have a relationship with that person forever. You know, that isn't going away.
Absolutely. And, you know, sometimes you have to remember that at one point you cared about them enough to have a child with them.
Right.
So as much as you might hate them now, that, you know, they weren't a terrible person 10 years ago when you got pregnant, or you got to keep that in mind as you're going through this, that, you know, there's not necessarily a crappy parent just because they slept with your next door neighbor or
Right. Right. So,
the babysitter.
so what kind of advice would you provide to someone that is going through one of these that asks you, you know, am I ever going to feel normal again?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, yes, it's just a process. And it's a hard process. It's like you're losing a dream. You know, you have these dreams and this future that you see with this person, and then all of a sudden it's gone. Even if you're the one who instigated it, it's just falls apart. And so
Right.
you have to readjust yourself into a new future and
Right.
new ways to think. And it's a process, though. It's a definite process.
You know, and most of the stuff that I've read talks about you're really gonna need anywhere from 15 to 24 months to get over it. So,
It's a loss. I mean, it's
Exactly.
it's like losing someone.
yeah, I mean, so you've got to go through the whole grief process and you know, and grieve that loss. But there's no wonder that there are so many second marriages that are rebound marriages that end in divorce very quickly, because you're not capable of really.
Yeah, you shouldn't be making those decisions that quickly.
No.
Yeah,
No, you want to go out and have fun afterwards? Great, go do that. But don't marry them.
that's right.
You know, don't get married, because that probably isn't going to work out very well. So moving on to another topic. So you have the younger generation of lawyers right now, and you have I like the way it was written on here, the mature. I think that is code for old.
I think she was referring to you.
Geriatric.
Yeah, it might be not quite to the point of geriatrics, but yes, definitely getting older these days. So, what can younger lawyers learn from older, and vice versa?
Well, I think you have the knowledge to provide of nuances and things like that you're going to run into that's not necessarily going to be in a rule book. That's just different facts or scenarios that you're going to need to know practicing law that you're not going to know until you run into it.
Right.
And you guys have that experience to give and the knowledge to train on that experience. So,
You know, and I think that is dead on. I think one of the things, though, I think it's really important, you know, to have people that are significantly younger, because it provides a whole different perspective. You know, I mean, I'm Generation X, and, you know, so when you get into millennial and Gen Z, it's different, and y'all, you know, the things are processed a different way and seen a different way, that it really kind of provides a new set of eyes. Now, I might think, you know, crazy as shit about some of it, but it definitely is an eye opener. And, you know, trying to, I think one of the things that we are as a law firm are really good at is being creative and coming up with solutions that you know, other people don't see. I mean, there are different ways to do some things that can be really outside of the box and take some creativity. But I think to gain that kind of creativity, you need to experience other people that see things differently than you do, right?
right.
So it's not just cookie cutter kind of off the shelf of, plug and play
Yes.
kind of situation. So what do you think, can be learned from the, younger generation out there?
Oh, I love getting baby lawyers in because they're fresh with all the new rules and just coming out of law school. They've got the latest and greatest when it comes to research and, stuff that we don't necessarily have to do all the time. Maybe there's new technology that they've learned about that we don't know about, something like that, although we keep up with that pretty good.
Yep.
But, especially, knowing all the new cases that might be out there.
Always a good thing.
Exactly.
Always a good thing.
Exactly.
So I get asked a lot of the time about prenups, and something that we fight over prenups all the time, but we don't generally draft them. So if you had someone coming to you about asking if they should get a prenup or not, what kind of topics would you want to talk to them about?
Well, depending on support, like if they're going to want spousal support, property division of the community estate after they're married, they're, going to gift any of their separate property to the other spouse or anything like that.
So, and I think you're dead on. I think one of the things that people hear the term prenuptial agreement and they automatically think that, hey, that's totally screwing over the other person, and sometimes it is, but many times it's not. And I think that's kind of one of the beauties of a prenuptial agreement is that you can make it as restrictive as possible. So in other words, folks, that means that you don't have any intention of creating any community property whatsoever, and the non-moneyed spouse is going to get X out of this. Or you can just basically have it confirming some different areas, and you can be very generous in it. So that is something that I don't think people understand enough. Here's something else that people don't understand enough. You need to make sure that you hire someone that knows what the hell they're doing when they're trying to do that, because I think that is a real specialty area that you need to, and that's ever changing, on what language you're going to have in a prenup, so that you don't end up breaking it, or that someone can't turn around and weaponize it as well.
Use it against you.
Exactly. So it's just like what we've talked about with other contracts, or like a parenting plan. Make sure you are following what the order actually says. If you're not, so it's just like, if you've got $1 million in community property or of separate property, and you start putting all this community into it, well, you're creating all kinds of problems.
I think that's a problem with a lot of the prenups too, is I don't know if it's the attorneys that are drafting them or people just aren't really listening, but there's, different ways to create community property in there sometimes. And people don't necessarily understand what they've done. You got a marriage that goes on 10, 15 years. You forget that you were supposed to keep all this over here and do X, Y, and Z. And, it ends up being nothing but a giant mess.
Yeah, no question. So, one of the other things that I wanted to talk a little bit about, so June is Pride Month. And so with the LGBTQ community, now ever since Obergefell, having same-sex divorce in Texas, you had it in other places a lot earlier than that. It's going to be very interesting to see what transpires with the new Supreme Court. And if something is taken up, they're already doing all kinds of stuff with restrictions on abortion and things of that nature. But much like a discussion that I've had with folks about fathers' rights, what is the difference in the law with same-sex marriage and same-sex divorces?
There shouldn't be a difference.
That's exactly right. Not a damn thing.
Quality equality.
Not a damn thing. You've got stuff in the code that says you can't use, sex, gender, sexual orientation against someone. Now, that's what the law says.
Yeah, but then you got bias from, Might be the judge, it might be their upbringing, their background, it could be the jury. If they get stuck in front of a jury, it's
Yeah.
always a battle.
Yeah, so you've got stuff that says the law, how the law has to be applied, and what can and cannot be taken into account. But that doesn't necessarily mean that in practical application you don't have some issues there.
And try to prove that you have those issues. There's usually, they can come
You're
up
stuck.
for a reason why they're making some ruling, and no matter what it is that's going on in their head.
Well, I think you've even got, you've got that at the highest level. I'm sure that there are reasons why, someone is a strict constructionist and someone is, as liberal as the day is long. Completely different views on things, but clearly, otherwise you'd have an automaton in there. You wouldn't need a Supreme Court because it would be all black and white. And the law, in my opinion, is all about gray.
That's where we live. It's
Yeah.
the gray area.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How has that been in the difference? The difference with where you were before about? Did you feel that from a legal standpoint, you lived in the gray as well, or did you think things were pretty clear cut?
I think there was a lot of gray there too, and we had similar issues with rulings and things like that aren't, to the T by the book, like rules of evidence are not getting applied right or
Right.
something to that effect. So, I think it happens in, probably safe to say that it happens in every area of litigation, that there's a lot of gray. And that's what creates a lot of litigation.
Oh, no question. Well, there used to be the standing joke of, a prominent objection in family law cases was, "Come on, judge, it's a family law case." And
That was before our time, Mark.
yeah, that was. I heard rumors about that when I first started. But,
Okay.
that was also back in the good old days when you could take a deposition and have an objection that was beyond objection for.
Yeah.
And you could lead someone down the primrose path on that. So things have changed a little bit over the 28 years that I've been practicing now. So any other topic that is really ripe for discussion with y'all, something that has just been eating at you? No?
I don't think you really want to open that can of worms.
I'm going to open that can of worms.
Okay. Well, how about the new abortion law that they passed in Texas? Do you want to go there? Let's go there.
I don't know enough about it, but I would probably tend to lean against it. I don't know. So I've gotten to a point where I cannot read too much of the news without just getting mad. And so I have quit doing that. But my position has always been pro-choice, and has been, that is a decision that is made between, a woman and her higher power, or God, or whatever she calls it. That's my opinion.
That's
So-
good, because you're a white male and you're not allowed
not
to have
allowed
an
to have
opinion
an
about my
opinion at this
body.
point.
There you go.
So,
Not that I could
conversely-
possibly get pregnant at this point. Thank you.
well, there you go.
Jesus.
Just so in case anybody was wondering that.
Getting old. It's awesome.
So where do you fall on that?
Well, I'm
Differently.
kind of, it's different from your point of view. It just depends on the circumstance. Like, I could see, like, if someone was horribly raped in this, bad situation,
Yep.
having the abortion and not being able to go through with the birth of it, maybe in something in that respect. But if it's just because you're out, doing whatever,
Yep.
then my opinion's a little different.
I get it. I don't think that it should be a form of birth control.
No.
But here's the problem that I have is it's difficult to start applying lines, in my opinion, of where is that line, and how do you define it? And because once you start doing that, I think there's always going to be an exception to the rule, and that's the problem. I think those of where somebody is raped, where there has been incest, different situations such as that, that's easy in my my opinion. Now, what about where you've got the mother's life is at risk? You know, I mean, so there are a bunch of those. And
Right.
then where do you believe, you know, when do you believe life actually starts? You know, is it at conception? Is it at viability outside of the womb? I mean, what is it? And I'm not smart enough to know that or to understand it. And so that's why for me, it's easier to kind of say I'm here, because then I don't have to go over here, because that just seems like a slippery slope to me. So, and because I'm a white male, I can't have an opinion on this.
You know, I don't like to watch the news either. I didn't even know about it, except my 20-year-old daughter was like, oh, Mom, have you heard?
Right.
She just got off of Accutane that she was taking for her skin,
Right.
which is super strong.
Yep.
And they make you sign something saying you will not get pregnant. You will
Right.
stay on birth control, you know, and because of all the deformities
Yep.
and stuff, all the problems that happen with children of somebody who's on Accutane.
Right.
Yeah, God forbid if she had gotten pregnant
Right.
while she was on that,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Yeah. So those are all, I mean, that's part of it. You know, it's just really, really hard in making those types of decisions. I also think it is, it's one of personal morality. Okay. So everybody's morality is different. You know, what is morally correct for me might not be morally correct for you or somebody else. But I don't think it's up to somebody else to dictate what my morality is. Now, the problem with what I just said is it's very easy to make an argument about, well, is killing someone moral? You know, is killing someone in the name of your country moral? Is killing someone, you know, who has been a criminal moral? I mean, there are a whole bunch of things. You know, it's like kind of like I'm a dichotomy with, you know, capital punishment. I'm not a fan of capital punishment for two reasons. One, because I don't think it's effective as a deterrent. And here's the other part. I don't think it's bad enough. I think it's too
let
easy.
him suffer.
Yeah. I mean, go hang out the rest of your life in the pen. You know, enjoy that. I think that is, you know, more. So these are, you know, these are all hard decisions. And the problem, it seems now, is, and I don't remember seeing this as much before, you get people now that are single issue voters. You know, they're voting 100% based on this one particular issue, whatever that issue is. And the rest of it just kind of be damned. And that, I think, is dangerous, frankly.
I agree.
So,
Absolutely.
all right.
There you go. We agree on something, Mark.
Well,
Something
hey,
new and different.
There you go. So, we heard about, you know, from Julie with what she wanted to talk about. Anything, putting a bee in your bonnet?
What?
No.
Is it because I'm wearing yellow and I look like a bee today?
I hadn't
Like yellow
thought
with
of that.
black
I don't know
pants?
where that saying came from, but I remember
Have you
it.
not ever heard that before? It's
No.
because you're from Oklahoma. That's
Probably.
the problem.
I'd like to attribute it to actually being in Oklahoma, but that I picked that choice one up there. So
I think it was in the Harry Potter movies. Were you a big fan of Harry Potter, Mark?
no, but I do remember watching those. Whitney was young at that point.
There you
and
go.
so
You may have picked it
I
up from there.
Don't remember that, but anyway. Well, folks, thanks for joining us on another edition of Family Law Talk. If you've got problems in the family law realm and you need some help, reach out to us. We're here to help. You can reach us at 214-469-3100. That will reach us in either office, either Frisco or Dallas, or you can send an email to info@Scroggins Law Group. Thanks.